Welcome. I'm Bernice Ross, the CEO and President of Brokerage at realestatecoach.com, and I'm so delighted to welcome a very dear friend back from my John Douglas days, Pat Heller. She's the Vice President for Compass in Southern California. She has run so many, she's run offices. She had her own company for many years. They became part of Compass, and she's one of the most insightful leaders I've ever met. Pat, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Bernice. I'm happy to be here. This is great. Fun to do this.
Well, one of the things you and I were chatting via email a couple of days ago, and you mentioned something called, you had gotten a lot of kind of silver linings from the COVID-19 pandemic. And I thought, what a wonderful topic to share with our viewers about kind of takeaways from what you've seen, because you directly supervise 5 offices, about 200 agents, and you've got your real finger on the pulse as to what's going on out there in terms of their mindset and how they're experiencing this. So, when we were preparing for this, I know one of the things that you talked about is a model, and you saw 4 stages in this model. What are the 4 stages?
Well, I've kind of compartmentalized what I've seen with so many people into the initial stage of shock when it first happened and we were ordered to stay in place and to go home. And so I call that the shock period, which was really caused personal reflection time. And then there was a transition from that into a new reality. And what am I going to do with this? And we can go into it further about the victimhood or taking charge. And then there was a third phase that we've been in for a while, which was just hang in there. And okay, now I've gone into whatever my new normal is for this temporary period. And I'm either thriving in it or miserable in it, but I'm hanging in there. And so there's been a different kind of work and effort, I should say, and coaching and mentoring with my agents around that. And now I'm sensing this brand new phase, which is go time. And there's this energy abounding, although we're not out yet, that we're toward the end of this and seeing the light on the other side. So I have some agents that have been working all along and prepping and are ready to go, and others that are thinking, better get together because we're almost to the other side. And what's that going to look like?
Well, I tell you what, that is one of the big question marks, is what is it going to do and how the supply and demand is going to change. We know that. I just did an article recently on that. And, so it's kind of, we don't know what the new normal is going to be. So Pat, let's kind of do a deep dive into each one of us, or into each one of those stages. So let's start with the shock. So, I think everybody realizes we went into shock when this happened. We didn't expect a worldwide shutdown, nothing we've ever seen before. Tell us more about the shock stage that you're talking and what you've seen with your agents.
Bernice, I think that everyone has gone through it differently personally. It was a very personal experience for everyone. And part of what I love in what I do is working with people around their mindset and the personal side of business. So I think for some, looking at it, when we were told shelter in place, go inside, what that really meant as a metaphor is go inside yourself and look at what does home look like for you. I have some that have 3 or 4 little children, and all of a sudden they're trying to homeschool several children. They're working at home, their spouse is working at home, they're cooking, they're doing art projects, they're working, they're teaching, they're trying to be patient, they're scared. Some people went through losing a job with the other spouse. So there was some of that went on. It caused everyone to look at, am I happy in my life? So I had some that want to look at that, others that have a harder time with personal reflection, and then some that shocked themselves. I'm one of them that really loved and enjoyed what I was learning and what I was starting to see. So it brought up that reflection. It also brought up how we all deal in change, because that shock period uprooted absolutely everything that we're used to doing. So we had to figure it all out again.
Well, I tell you, that is, I think what you described here, and it's not, as you said, it's not just us as individuals. This has been a universal situation for us. In fact, you described it when we were prepping as almost being a surreal disconnect. And I thought that was such a great, description. It's just like, can this really be happening to us?
Yeah, it was a surreal disconnect. And at the same time, for the first time, I think we all felt connected with the rest of the world in a very different way. Because not only regionally were we going through it, but it spread so quickly everywhere.
Well, I know that's what was so scary about it, is how, even with the social distancing, how rapidly it spread. Now, you described the next step as being transition. And talk to us about, what you've seen inside of that, how people have adapted and what that looks like.
Well, again, it was as personal as each individual, but what I tended to see are groups of personalities, groups of mindset, groups of people that would embrace one way or the other. And an overall arching feeling I have around this from working through it with them is how someone is going through that transition period is how they go through life. And it tends to be a pattern that you see. So in the transition, it was how some of us got together with, oh, okay, I have to find a new rhythm. I have to find a new daily schedule. I have to get back to, if I can't work out in the gym in the morning, doing something at home. I need to get my kids up and make sure I do the breakfast so that we can do the homeschooling at set hours. So some people just charged right into that, setting a new, I call biorhythm or pattern. And they had a little more ease in getting into that transition time and looking at it in a very different light than those who were looking at it of, I don't know what to do. I'm going to wait for somebody else to tell me what to do. And I'm really struggling because I have no idea how long this is going to last, what's going to happen tomorrow. And every time I turn on the news, there's more bad news. So some of that may have related to spending the whole day watching the news, or the discipline to turn it off and spending part of the day focusing on themselves and their business. And the other thing I noticed, which I think is fascinating, Bernice, is some agents, some people have, and friends as well, have been focusing on the problem and really got caught up in the drama and what I call the noise on the news. And then others had that natural proclivity to start focusing on the outcome. And even though we don't know what the outcome is, it was like, okay, what's my outcome today with the kids and the family? How am I going to deal with space in this house? Who's going to use what room as an office or a playroom? And really took on focusing on the future, the outcome, as opposed to the problem. And I noticed overall they did so much better, or let's put it this way, they struggled less. So the change and the transition was not an option. The struggle was a choice or an option, one way or the other. The other thing that came real clear to me, which we all know from other times, is those that were focusing on a fixed mindset felt stuck. Like they had no option, they had no choice, they had no control. Very uncomfortable. As opposed to some that had a more open, growth-oriented mindset. And what I watched them tend to do, and we would talk it through, is jump into something sloppy in the beginning and figure it out. And you know what? They really learned and grew through that. Some of the agents were doing their own virtual tours and properties, and some with their own iPhone and figuring out how to post them online. There were all different creative ideas and growth that came out of it. So I watched both of that in that transition time.
Well, that brings us to the next step, is hanging in there. So
Yeah.
what has that? I mean, I think that's where most of us are either now, and then we're getting ready to go Indigo. So what did you see in the hanging in stage at that point?
Well, what I've really been hanging in there with them doing and working with them on is daily patterns, daily rituals. How are they handling that? Their focus on growth and learning, because it's hang in there and what are you doing today to lead you to tomorrow in a way where you're thriving? Are you learning a new technology? What have you learned this week? What new tech can you learn? What new marketing idea? You know, at the company that I'm with, at Compass, we have an awful lot of marketing products and tools that are given to the agents. So what have they embraced? Because for so long we all said, I don't have time to learn all of this. There's no way to learn all of this. I'm so busy. And so I've worked with a lot of agents that are willing to jump into that and learn one thing at a time. So the hang in there has become a time of great growth and learning if someone has embraced it in baby steps and been willing to kind of be sloppy and learning as though we're a kid all over again. Some people that have kids have had their kids help them, and they're way ahead of us because the kids have helped them learn all of this. And so they'll be teaching us when we come out. But I featured some of that on my meetings and featured agents that have had less of a struggle and really worked with this hang in their time and has helped other agents. So all in all, one has helped the other.
So can you give us some additional examples of kind of how they've hung in there, you know, some of the things where somebody might have been really creative that you've seen and that maybe that you talked about in one of those meetings?
Well, we had several. I've had a couple of meetings where we talked about dialogue with clients and getting real and having real conversation. And we've all discovered during this time, shallow conversation with a client has become very real, much more transparent, and very honest, because clients are concerned. They don't know what's coming next either. So the more agents have shared creative ideas of them, their knowledge base, building their own knowledge base, and then how to translate that and work with clients through the process. Another great idea, simple as it sounds, was being in touch with clients every day just to say hello and check in and find out how they are. That may sound as though we should be doing that all the time, but I can promise you, in busy life, most agents weren't. And now I'm saying to those agents that have been doing that, keep doing that forever. They've had better conversations and now have better relationships with their client and sphere of influence than they've ever had. So that's kind of a no-brainer, but it was through sharing that information. I had one agent that actually got 3 pieces of business even during COVID-19 just from touching in with a client. But it's with no attached agenda. So that's a couple of ways. Dialogue. The other is marketing. We've had some really genius come out of agents figuring out how to do different virtual tours through different apps and different processes, and then teaching others how to do that. And then through watching that, it's created other agents and other groups to really want to jump in and go, wait a minute, if they can do that, I can do that. Some agents have started a newsletter that hopefully they'll never stop, which is a weekly or a monthly interface with their clients where they've actually put their own content together. And so these are things that would not have happened in the everyday world we were in before. And these are ways that we really need to be in this world going forward. So that's a huge silver lining, I feel.
Well, I love this because it's the connection, it is the service, it's the being real, and again, coming back to that personal connection with your clients in an entirely different way that we have never would have had.
Well,
I thought you had an interesting observation when you were talking about a Zoom meeting versus face-to-face.
I was just going to mention that. I hold meetings twice a week now with all 5 offices, and we have about 200 and probably 250, 240 agents in that entire group. We are holding these Zoom meetings or virtual meetings. They're actually on Blue Jeans. And we're probably getting about 187 people each call, give or take, which is a lot more than when we would hold in-person meetings. I would have never believed that the connection is actually greater, with the exception of everybody being able to talk at once, because you cannot. But the connection is greater on the Zoom meetings than it is in in-person meetings. people don't have to stress to get to a location to attend. They're present for the most part, unless their kids are jumping all over them, but generally they're present when they're in the meeting, and they're able to glean a lot more information, and we're able to share a lot more information. So the connection I'm getting in mass that way has really surprised me. And one-on-one in individual meetings with clients and with agents, and my agents with their clients, they're feeling more connection in a Zoom meeting with a client that they did in person. There's something about the ability to not have to have someone in your home. The conversation gets deeper and more real more quickly. And the social conversation isn't there as much. It's more about, what am I really calling you about? What do we really want to talk about? And I think that so much has been born out of that, that my hope is, and my commitment is to keep that going in the future and to encourage everyone to do that.
I have a question for you. Do you see, you and I have functioned back in the day where we had to do in-offer presentations. You remember those? Do you see those coming back now, but on Zoom or on Blue Jeans, whatever the platform you choose? Do you see those coming back, in the future?
I actually do. And that's a brilliant point to bring up, because there was so much of the art lost when we stopped doing personal presentation, and that went away a long time ago. We've been in a very busy market for the last few years where there are shortcuts made. And I think not doing personal presentation, and also this whole DocuSign where everyone's virtually signing, it's taken away the understanding of the whole magic of the negotiation, the magic of the deal. So I truly believe that in some or many cases, we will be using virtual meeting place to present offers. It's fabulous for people where there's an attorney in one state and a client in another state, or 4 or 5 brothers and sisters that need to all be part of a conversation. A lot of agents were so hesitant to do virtual listing presentations because they felt they didn't have their act together. This is a prime example of, this has been a wonderful time to get that together and just go do it, because we all have permission to not be perfect during COVID-19, right? Mm-hmm. We're all learning. So this is like before go time, this is learning time. And I think that we'll embrace that. And I think I look forward to doing multiple offers on Zoom with clients and agents, so that so everyone can feel that they've got their opportunity. And one by one, I think some offers will be done that way, some not. But it creates another forum and platform. And it's an even better way to do a digital marketing and listing presentation.
I couldn't agree with you more on that point. And I assume you're still supervising multiple offers because of the craziness that goes on in Southern California.
I'm actually getting them, believe it or not, even now during the virus. We're getting multiple offers. So yes, I am overseeing that, and I'm a stickler for what's right is right. You do it the right way, and we have us involved. So yes.
Well, we came out the same culture, so we've
exactly
got that mindset. So Pat, let's talk about the final stage, the go stage.
Well, again, I think that I have agents that are calling me daily saying, well, I should have prepared, and I should have done this, and I should have done that. And so what I'm working is right now with agents is baby steps. Do one thing each day. Do this, make sure you accomplish this today, and then call me in the morning or text me, and I'll back and forth with some of them. I'm amping up and keeping my calls twice a week. We're updating twice a week about what's happening, and I'm actually featuring certain individuals that have been able to create something that they feel has lasting value, so that we're all gaining from those ideas with that agent's permission, of course. And so we're really talking about, how are you preparing? Two people. I have 2 people for you to prepare. First is yourself, because we really individually need to be in our leadership mode. Who are we as a leader, and how are we leading forward? So it's being prepared within myself, so I'm prepared to lead What do I know about tomorrow? Not what's going to happen, but how am I leading through that with the knowledge, the expertise, and there's a conviction and a competence that is compelling. And everyone wants leadership right now. So how are we leading us? And therefore, how are we leading our clients and our families and whoever else as we go forward day by day? And so that's really the mode we're in right now. And I think that it will be a very short period of time before everyone will be back into next and a little bit back to whatever the new normal will be. And then I think my stage will be, okay, what are we committed to keeping? Because I'm a huge proponent of not just falling back into old patterns and habits. We've had this reset time to learn and to grow. We need to really start the ripple effect of keeping the new wisdom, the new humbleness, the new compassion, and the new wisdom that we've gleaned, is part of the silver linings during this time.
Pat, what a great way to wrap up this interview, because what you just gave to us is, setting your new normal and not letting yourself go back to it is, it's like take advantage of what this time out has gifted us. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap up for today?
No, just this has been so fun to share with you. I really appreciate it. And I think that, I guess my final thought would be, we have a choice. We all have a choice right now and every day of how we go through our day, how we start each new day, and what is our focus. And is it in the noise, or is it in the solution and the outcome? And I think the hope and the amazing future that's ahead, it will look different. It will look uncertain for a while, but we all have a choice to create it and be the creator of our own reality in that. We do have control of that. And I think it can be a beautiful world if enough of us create consciously.
Wow. Thank you, Pat. We've been visiting with Pat Heller. She's the Vice President of Compass in Southern California. And Pat, thank you. This has just been a magnificent interview. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Bernice.